What is it for? Okay, if you can understand the purpose of the event, it's going to help you to set your goals, choose your strategies for dealing with your nerves, and in the best possible way, change your thinking. So we're going to talk about what each event is for, what its purpose is.
You can't set your targets and your goals unless you know what the purpose is. And actually there are different sort of purposes for different types of auditions.
Yeah.
And as Jeremy said, it also helps you, once you know what the event is for, it helps you to control your psychological response.
There's something quite interesting about a performance in general, in that it has two parties, the performer and the audience. If the audience isn't there, it's just a rehearsal. So the audience brings something themselves. The audience usually wants to enjoy the performance, that is the general trend. But
sometimes they even pay.
Yeah. In exams, competitions and auditions, you have to rely less on the audience because they are there doing a job. That's the examiner or the panel. So your mental focus becomes more important and your focus needs to be task relevant.
Yeah, you're very reliant on yourself, aren't you, Jeremy, in this kind of situation because of something that we're going to talk about later, which is that the lack of interaction often and the lack of feedback from a judged performance when you're actually doing it.
We're going to launch straight in with quite a complex chart, but I thought it was, because there's so much information in it, I thought it was the best way of doing it. So there you go. What is it for? And then you have the exam, the competition or the audition. And then these are some of the reasons that we came up with. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. But what is interesting, if we just take the first couple, is it to reach a standard? For an exam, yes it is, because I want my grade 8 or I want to know that I've done my grade 6 or whatever. Do you reach a standard in a competition? No, because you actually already need to be that standard. And do you reach a standard in an audition? And that's an M, that's a maybe. Mostly auditions are not about measuring whether you've reached a standard or not, but occasionally they are. And then go on to the next one, get feedback. In an exam, yes you do, because you get a report. In a competition, yes, maybe. You sometimes get a report, sometimes you don't. I would just like to drop in, I did a competition years ago after I left college. I just won the Britten Peers International Piano Competition as the accompanist. And I went to do a competition in Ilkley, doing a singing competition. I was playing for a singer, and my report sheet from the examiner had 3 words on it: boring and unimaginative. And my reaction to that was, you have no idea what you're talking about.
And can I just say, again, about feedback, and this applies really to auditions, you may well find that the panel nod and smile and appear to be really enjoying what you're doing, but you don't get called back. And that's not because they're meanies, it's actually because they're doing a different kind of job.
Yes.
Can I also just point out that when we're looking at auditions, there are only 2 Y's there.
Yes.
Which are get the job, place, role,
and be seen.
And be seen.
It is interesting that there's a lot of no's in the auditions. You don't do an audition to get feedback, you don't do it to get a prize, you don't do it to get publicity, you don't do it to measure yourself against others. It's interesting when you start reading these columns downwards, what in fact the purpose becomes.